Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Gordon, and I'm President and Vice Chancellor at the University of Windsor. Thank you for joining us today, both here in the Alumni Auditorium and those friends, family, and colleagues joining us on our live stream from around the world. Today, our entire community has come together to recognize a significant loss to our institution, our region, our province, Canada, and the world. We will be hearing from several people at today's memorial service, but I want to briefly acknowledge that we are joined today by Deputy Warden of the County of Essex, Mayor Nelson Santos, Members of Parliament, Brian Massey, Eric Kuzmaricek, and Chris Lewis, Members of Provincial Parliament, Lisa Gretzky and Transnadicek, and the President of St. Clair College, Patty France. We gather today to grieve the loss of 5 members of our University of Windsor family. Doctoral student in civil engineering, Pedram Jadidi, biology research assistant, Samira Barishi, her spouse, Hamid Sedera Kokab, a PhD candidate in mechanical engineering, civil engineering doctoral student Zahara Najibi, and her spouse Mohammed Abaspour Ghadi. For all of you today who lost friends and colleagues to this unspeakable tragedy, please know that we are with you today and will be with you in the days, weeks, and months to come as we find a way forward. Your loss is immeasurable. Please know, however, that you are among friends. Our hearts break today for all 163 families who have lost loved ones, the families of 82 Iranians, 63 Canadians, 11 Ukrainians, 10 Swedes, 4 Afghans, 3 Germans, and 3 British nationals who were also on flight PS 752 on Wednesday. We mourn as the world mourns with us at this tremendous loss of promise and possibility for those we lost personally and for those we never met. For those returning from the holiday season, visits with family, for those celebrating weddings and traveling with new babies, for those holding the hand of a beloved child or spouse. We mourn today because we are human, and we all feel the tremendous depth of human suffering caused by this tragedy. Our own students were standing on the very doorstep of discovery in their research careers, and their potential was limitless. We will never know what life-changing contributions they may have made in their areas of study and academic pursuits, and that loss is unfathomable. Today and every day, we are a university family, one that celebrates achievements, the achievements of each and every one of us, and the unique contributions we bring to our community. On our darkest days, we are a family that stands side by side to overcome the type of adversity and heartbreak we have experienced over the past few days. Mostly, we are proud and humbled that these brilliant young leaders chose to share their innovative ideas at our university and bring them to fruition in our labs and classrooms. We are honored by their contributions and will miss them terribly. We now have reflections by a number of our friends, community members, and University of Windsor family. I would like to ask Chaplain Cynthia Connell from Canterbury College to begin.
When tragedies like these happen, it's sometimes hard to find words of comfort for those suddenly who are finding themselves grieving. For many of you here today, the grief you are experiencing is magnified by the tragic death of 5 people from our university family. Often at times like this, people turn to faith to try to find reasons and answers, but often those answers can't be found. But one thing that we can remember is that God, whoever that is for you, is walking alongside you, grieving with you, crying with you, and holding you up to support you through your grief and your loss. Grief can be very painful and consuming, and knowing that we as a community here at the University of Windsor are very multi-faith and come from a variety of traditions, beliefs, and customs, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge a couple of those. The Islam people believe that when somebody dies in such a tragic way as has happened this week to many, it is felt that those people are given a higher place in the Garden of Paradise, and their tragic death is acknowledged. In the Christian faith, we believe that after death you are reunited with those who have gone before you in a place of grace, peace, forgiveness, and love, where you are surrounded by beauty. In the midst of the death that is being felt, we both believe in a God that promises a place to reunite with those who have gone before us, a place that is paradise. I personally didn't know Zara, Mohammed, Pemdra, Hamid, and Samira very well. Some of them I had met and spent some time with, and some of them I had not. But I've been invited to spend time over the past few days with many students here on campus, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to learn more about them and the impact that they had and the sorrow and the hurt that is being felt amongst many. Through those stories, it has been a blessing to hear about their generosity, their compassion, and their outreach work that they did not only in the Iranian community throughout Windsor, but here on campus at the university. Through those shared stories and those memories, I have learned and heard how respected they were in their programs and their fields, and what great work they were doing as students and researchers. It has also become very clear how loved they are by their families and friends here on campus, and how deeply they will be missed. I would like to encourage all of you over the next few days, weeks, and months to continue to gather together in community and prayer, to continue to share those stories and those memories, and support and pray for one another, and honor those who have died. Rest eternal grant to them, and let light perpetual shine upon them.
I'll now ask Dr. Mehrdad Saif, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, to come forward.
Words cannot describe how I feel today about this tragedy. So let me start with the words of a great Persian poet of 13th century, Sa'di, from the book of Golestan. I'm certain that most, if not all, the Persian speakers in this room are familiar with the poem that I'm about to read. I might add that imagery and metaphor are at the heart of Persian poetry. So in my view, Persian poetry is best read in Farsi. Nevertheless, a rough English translation of the poem goes something like this. The children of Adam are limbs to each other, having been created of one essence. when the calamity of time affects one limb, the other limbs cannot remain at ease. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. Indeed, it is true that our heart aches whenever we hear of human suffering or loss of life, anywhere, it doesn't matter. Of course, when it hits close to home, to family, friends, or people we knew, the pain is even harder to endure. We were all heartbroken by the news of the Ukrainian airline crash in Tehran that took 176 lives. The victims were from Afghanistan, Canada, Germany, Iran, Sweden, UK, and Ukraine. Our hearts go out to their families, friends, and colleagues. And of course, 5 of the victims were affiliated with the University of Windsor. On behalf of the Faculty of Engineering community, Faculty of Engineering family, I would like to extend my sincere sympathy and heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of our students and everyone who is grieving here today. I am sure that Zahra Naqibi, Mohammad Abbaspour Qadi, Samira Bashiri, Hamid Reza Setare Kokab, and Pedram Jadidi have earned their wings and are in a better place now. روان آن رفتگان شاد و یادشان گرامی باد. Thank you for being here today.
I would like to call on Dr. Lisa Porter from the Faculty of Science to come forward.
Gosh. Tuesday night, many of us in this room went to bed anticipating that our friends, family, colleagues, students in Windsor would be back in Windsor in the morning, ready to do the work that they loved. None of us could have imagined the events that would unfold. None of us could have imagined so many shining stars lost at once. One of those shining stars, Samira Bashiri, was a part of my own lab family and was part of the family in the Faculty of Science. Like all of these 5 individuals, Samira was dearly loved across the Windsor and university communities. On behalf of Dean Hauser, the Faculty of Science, I bring sincere condolences to all family, friends, colleagues, and faculty who share in our heartbreak today. Over the past few days, my lab has been struggling to understand, to comprehend the events that could have happened, to imagine that it's even real. During that time, we began sharing stories and memories and pointing out to each other just what it was that made us adore Samira so much. Samira's close friend Miriam will speak about some of those qualities later in the program, but I'd like to point to 2 things that came up consistently among my lab. First was her dedication and motivation. When Samira first approached me about graduate school, she was already an accomplished veterinarian, but she didn't have the molecular biology background that I would normally require from a student in graduate school in my lab. So I told her that it wouldn't set her up for success to pick my lab for her graduate work, and I started to talk to her about other options. But Samira wouldn't have it. She said if I took her as a volunteer, if I took a chance on her, she would prove herself to me. In the next few weeks, my research associates came to me and said that Samira was working night and day, that she was intelligent, talented, and motivated. She was so capable. And so we turned her position into a paid research assistant, and she began preparing scholarships and graduate application for the spring 2020. Samira was so excited to begin graduate school, and she would have been very successful in my lab. Each of these 5 individuals came so far from their own countries to pursue opportunities, to follow their dreams, each so excited about their future. This shows to me such resilience, Science and engineering need people with these qualities. We need people with this kind of resilience, determination, and motivation. In addition to her potential in science, what also stood out about Samira was how proud she was to be here in Canada and at the University of Windsor. She saw beauty in our country, in our city, in our university, and in our way of life. And she wasn't afraid to show it. She was very good on social media. She actually loved Instagram. And she used this as a platform to share what she was learning about Canadian values with her friends around the world. In addition, she was embedding her message with what she treasured about her own culture, sharing with all of us beautiful photos of her life in Iran with her family and her friends. We need people like Samira who embrace different cultures, who use creativity and happiness to show us that peace, freedom, equality, and education are the way forward. We need people like Samira to truly make the world a better place. If we can take anything positive from this horrible tragedy, I hope that we'll all take the time to appreciate the great country that we live in, to embrace the importance and need for diversity, to respect, support, and encourage each other just a little bit more, and to be grateful that we're here able to do what we do every day. These 5 individuals deserved that. Thank you.
I'd like to call forward Dr. Rup Caraveau, faculty advisor for Sahara, to say a few words.
This tragedy was far-reaching and reminds us of how interconnected we are. I was sitting in PhD defense in Waterloo when I saw Dean Safe first email that there had been an accident, and I was very concerned and scared. And then I got another email the next moment was about Zara. It was very hard to carry on, but I'm glad that we did carry on. I learned later that the candidate also had lost his sister-in-law in the same event. If anyone here ever met Zara, and I'm sure many of you have, you'd realize how remarkably affable and sweet she was. She was really the definition of sweet person. Beyond that, clearly she was a very bright person and brave. She was brave to work in our lab because there's a taskmaster that works in there beside me, David Ting. David's a funny man. He shows his affection by giving people lots of work. And he clearly was very fond of Zara because he loaded Zara up with work. Leading the ASHRAE chapter with no experience, hosting visitors without having any kind of preliminary information, numerous book chapters outside of her thesis. And I know because I was there, and she would look at him and she'd say, "Sure, I will do it." And she'd smile. In terms of what she did for us as a lab, I can tell you that her innovative work in bringing solar energy into food production was unrivaled. And we've gotten so much media coverage as a result of this, and it's really expanded our portfolio in terms of research in agriculture and renewable energy at that intersection. That was completely enabled by her results. I presented her work at the Agricultural Adaptation Council just a month ago, and I joked with the audience, but it was absolutely true that it was the first time we could come with completely clean results that finished on time, and that was 100% because of her. I'll just finish by telling you a more recent anecdote. We brought Zara with us to Ottawa. We were asked to host a national workshop on energy. We picked our best students to be note takers because there was a lot of pressure on us. Zara liked to do things her own way. She would always amaze us with sort of what her solution was to things. So at one point I look over and she's at this table with all of these dignitaries and taking notes. It was what she was supposed to be doing, but instead she was participating in the conversation. I started getting very concerned, like, what is Zara up to? What is she doing, right? And so after the event, she sent us her work. She had been recording everything with her phone and sent us the most accurate transcription of all the tables that we had. So it was another example of what we asked her for, she made better. And that's what she's really done for us. And what she's done for me as a person is she's made us better. And I'm extremely grateful for having known her. Thank you.
I'd like to call on Dr. Shehong Cheng, faculty advisor for PEDRAM, to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. I never have imagined to talk about PEDRAM in a heartbroken situation like this. PEDRAM joined my research team last summer, and his PhD work is to apply artificial intelligence to structural health monitoring on cable-stay bridge, which is at the forefront of the field. So his work, if completed successfully, is expected to have a huge impact in bridge industry and also engineering community. He brought all his passion, his expertise to my group, to my lab. Last semester, he partnered with another PhD student of mine. They successfully designed a wind tunnel experiment to generate vortex-induced vibration in the wind tunnel. So I still remember that moment when PEDRAM and his partner came to my office and proudly showed me that piece of video of that test. We were so excited. We cheered together for this milestone in my research group. It was just like yesterday. And even before this time, he left and going back to Iran in December. He managed to submit a conference paper because he wanted to attend that very precious international conference to share his expertise with all other people in the field. PEDRAM is a very bright, very talented, and self-motivated student. He has beautiful dreams and was very ambitious about his future. I have never doubted about someday he will become an excellent researcher. He is such a decent, polite, and generous young man, very reliable and responsible. So I can count almost anything on him. If you need his help, his response will always be, Dr. Chen, consider it has already been done. Everyone in my group liked him. We still cannot take this devastating news that he has gone. So I think PEDRAM and all those four we lost from our Windsor family and the rest of people on that plane, they will be remembered by all of us. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Dr. Jill Urbanek to come forward. Jill is the faculty advisor for Hamid.
Like my colleagues, Hamid was also doing very innovative research that I honestly thought could change direction in his area of research. And we were both really excited to continue his research in design, artificial intelligence, and in the machine learning domains when he came back. He had an engineering and biotechnology background, as well as a history of proven excellence, including biomedical-related projects and patents in Iran. We were both interested in engineering design and applications in the medical domain. This is why his research was to be focusing on developing improved biomechanical mannequins for lumbar puncture and thoracentesis trainers. We've all had needles, we've all had punctures, and if we can do something here in the engineering environment that makes it safer and better for the greater community, this was an opportunity. And he was the perfect candidate. We had many ideas how he was to progress and how some of his computer-aided design solutions they had done to date could actually be used and applicable for many environments outside of the biomedical domain. I mean, we were excited. You know, we were just talking over each other with the ideas that we were generating. He had just started his PhD in January 2019 and already had received a research award for some of his ideas and some of the research that he had done. We had gone to a conference in Oshawa, and he had received a Young Researcher Award. And it was related to machine learning and CAD design for modeling body parts. His lung and his femur were beautiful, fast, accurate, all of the superlatives. Rarely has anyone made such a contribution in such a short period of time and study in my research lab. We have done some very interesting and innovative things, but the spark was lit and he was just going. Our last memory of Hamid and his wife, Semi, was very pleasant. Our group had a research party at Sam's. You know, we ordered a couple Mexican pizzas and a couple of the appetizers there. And we were chatting gaily about a number of things, about Canada, life, cars, research. What are we going to do when we get back? Hamid had the potential to do great research, and he would have been successful in both academia and industry. His research was to help build a bridge between engineering and the Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry, as well as nursing. He had it all. He was intelligent, hardworking, creative, helped his peers, was happy in his efforts, and really was an amazing person. The new year aligns closely with the philosophy of a new start. My biggest concern for Hamid was for him to not overextend himself. Instead of starting the next chapter of his academic career, which was to be as comprehensive, multiple industrial internships, and a proposal, we lost a bright light. And the excitement of a new year has changed to sorrow for his loss of life and of our other researchers here.
I'd now like to ask, representing the University of Windsor's Student Alliance, the President, Jeremiah Bowers, to come forward.
It's hard to speak on something like this. You're sitting in your seat. I can't. All you can really do is keep your head down, because there's just my heart aches because our hearts ache. I'm in pain because we're in pain. We're interconnected. It's profound, the impact of the lives of these wonderful, talented, extraordinary people that I can never do justice with my words. But on behalf of the University of Windsor Students Alliance, I speak for the entire student community when I say that each and every one of us is shaken and gripped by this senseless and devastating tragedy. Much of how we feel as students is indescribable and can't be put into words, let alone a few minutes. We don't often think how events so far can hit so close to home, and yet here we are. Our peers, students, and staff, just like you and me, are gone. But today we commemorate the lives of these inspiring, extraordinary individuals, gone but certainly never forgotten, not in the eyes and hearts of the students of the University of Windsor or in this community. These were students who loved their education, loved doing what they do, loved their research. They had such great passion and potential ahead of them. It will take us time to heal as a campus and as a community, and even more so for the families and loved ones of the victims. However, if you know anything about being a Lancer, which these students and staff proudly were, and all of us proudly are, it's that we are a family, never divided. A loss of one of us hurts and deeply touches all of us. Our hearts will never be the same. This cannot and will never be forgotten, but we will find strength and love in each other and pour out that same strength and love to those both in this room and around the world who will carry the memory of these beloved individuals. And while they'll live on in the hearts and minds of many, the UWSA and the Graduate Student Society, who you'll hear from soon, will cement their memory in the history of this campus for their extraordinary impact to our campus community and their honor. And we'll be establishing the Lancer Family Memorial Graduation Scholarship in their name, recognizing that their achievements, a scholarship will not even do it justice. It will only help us remember what happened, remember their lives, and remember what this means to all of us. So to the 4 University of Windsor students and staff members, and to the several other innocent students and Canadians across the country, and many other lives that were lost and who fell victim to this unfathomable tragedy, we say we love you, we honor you, and we will remember you.
I'd like to ask Austin Roth, representing the Graduate Student Society of the University of Windsor, to come forward.
On behalf of the Graduate Student Society, we'd like to offer our sincerest condolences to the family, friends, colleagues, and classmates for the lives that were lost. I personally knew one of the students who was on that flight. He was working on a project that would positively affect the lives of PhD students on campus. He cared about his research, he cared about student lives. Most importantly, he loved his research and wanted to improve the reputation of our university. The loss of life is tragic, but their contributions to our university will continue on. The GSS grieves for all those impacted by this event, and we stand by our students as we mourn their loss. Thank you.
I'd like to ask His Worship, the Mayor of the City of Windsor, Mayor Drew Jilkins, to come forward.
Good afternoon. Writer and journalist Anne Royf said, "Grief is in 2 parts, The first is loss. The second is remaking of life. Today, our community is grieving incredible loss because of a senseless air tragedy. Many of the 176 passengers affected were scheduled to transfer to flights to Canada. They were en route to our country. They were returning home from vacations, from family visits, from celebrations, and from adventures. 5 members of our community, members of our University Windsor family, were on that flight. We have lost them, and we are here together today to honor them as well as to mourn them. We are here to remember them and to comfort and support one another as we face this loss of life together. We're also here to send a message to their loved ones, their families, their friends, their colleagues, all of whom are in the room today, and those joining us through the live stream. You are not alone. Windsor is here with each and every one of you. You have our thoughts, you have our condolences, you have our hearts, and you have our prayers. We remember Zahara, we remember Mohammed, we remember Samira, we remember Hamid, and we remember Pedram. We say your names, we see your photos, and we share your stories because that is what we can do to show that you mattered, that you made a difference, and that you lived, and that you were loved. President Gordon spoke about these 5 brilliant academics. He called them extraordinary. He said they were making valuable contributions to their disciplines. Here in Windsor, they were an integral part of one of Canada's most diverse communities, and we were certainly lucky to have each and every one of them here in our city. It is true, we will never know who they might have become in the future, or all that they might have accomplished, or the full impact that they may have had on the world around them. They all built lives full of promise, and we mourn the end of that journey today. They were traveling alongside students from 9 other Ontario universities, and we are connected to those communities today, and we also share their grief and their pain. When we face tragic events, when they touch the people, when they touch the places, when they touch the lives that are part of our community, we feel shaken, we feel confused. We feel broken as we navigate that first part of the grief, that tremendous sense of loss. And as the investigations continue into the cause of this tragedy, we feel a little bit of fear and uncertainty. We may feel some anger, we may even feel some frustration. And though we may not be the people tasked with finding the answers of what happened, we are the people who are tasked with facing the second part of grief, that being the remaking of life. And really that's what today is all about. This is what we do. We're here together to lift one another up. We are here to offer our condolences and to comfort and to reassure one another. We are here together because, as you know, and as many have said before, we are stronger together. And that really is how we're going to move forward. We can't get around something like this. We can't forget that this ever happened. We have to go through it to fully understand and appreciate what has happened. And sharing our memories of those that we've lost is our way through. Admitting we need one another is our way through. And understanding that we are in this together is our way through. Tonight, today, now, after this ceremony, this weekend, hug the people who matter to you and tell them that you love them. Remember the names, remember the faces and the stories of the people that we lost to this tragedy. Embrace each of them in your heart and live lives that honor their memories. On behalf of all of my elected colleagues who are here, the president of St. Clair College, on behalf of everyone in the city of Windsor, let me just say, together we remember, and together we help each other find our way forward.
I'd like to now call on Nedra Rezaei for saying a few words about Sahara.
She smiled from the bottom of her heart, and our story of friendship began. She loved inviting everyone over. She opened the door of her home and her heart to everyone. Zara was a beautiful soul. She was the first person to notice everyone's birthday and plan for them. Hey, Neda, your birthday is next week. Let's have a party. Couldn't find a gift better than a book for you. This is for you, said with a spark in her beautiful, kind eyes. Zara was a support to anyone who knew her, a shoulder to cry on, a real friend to count on. When I told her that I feel stuck with my thesis, she replied, "Neither. We are here thousands of miles away from our family members to make our dreams happen, to make a big difference in our world. Relax and start over. Believe in yourself." And now, here I am, so close to my dreams, with wide open eyes, awake, and I need someone to tell me this was all a joke. And I still have my friend, Zara, to help me through everything. I'm sure her soul is now in a happy, peaceful place with her love of life, Muhammad. We will never forget our lovely Zara. من هر روز ساعت 12:30 منتظرم به من پیام بدی بیا با هم نهار بخوریم. من رفتنت رو باور ندارم. میدونم برمیگردی.
I'd like to ask Mehran Saji to come forward and say a few remembrance words from Mohammed.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for being here today. I've known Mohammed and Zara since I've been to Windsor. Their presence turned the cold days of winter into a warm welcome of summer. Mohammed believed in living the moment with friends. And he believed with friends everything would be possible. He valued gathering together, and he was always the one arranging said gatherings. Everywhere we go, their memories flash before our eyes. Every weekend, we used to hang out and have lots of fun and laughing. Forgetting all those sweet memories seems impossible for all of us. He knew how to explain the complexities of life with simplicity and his sense of humor. همه بچه‌هایی که تو گروهمون بودن یادشون میاد که محمد چطور با چند تا دونه لیوان و داستانایی که میگفت ما رو میخندوند. He always knew funny little expressions and quotes to make us smile. He loved classical Iranian music as much as he loved literary Persian books. خیلی از ما ایرانی‌ها هر هفته یک شنبه ها خاطره داریم با داستان‌هایی از شاهنامه که برامون میذاشت و بهش گوش میدادیم. Muhammad was in love with nature. He used to say that of all the creatures, he likes to be a bird. کاش برای یک مراسم شاد اینجا جمع شده بودین، خود محمد اینجا بود صحبت میکرد، نه من. دوست ندارم باور کنم نمیاد و میخوام حس کنم که هر لحظه احتمال داره بیاد پیشم. We all miss him and cherish his memories. May he rest in peace.
I'd like to now ask Nasser Tarabi to come forward and say a few words for Pedram.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is heartbreaking to gather at the memorial of Pedram Jadidi, our dear friends and remarkable PhD student of Dr. Cheng and Dr. Raisi. His arrival was affected by a tragedy of losing his father weeks before he planned to start his journey. We were so lucky to know such a precious and lovely brother when he arrived at Windsor last summer. The first thing you could mention about Pedram was his politeness and tactfulness as a well-organized and intelligent person. He demonstrated to be an exceptional, enthusiastic researcher. Outside of workspace, Pedram was known by all of us as a supportive and approachable friend. He was a keen fan of music, movies, and sport, and was a skilled graphic designer. We all had a good time with Pedram. Despite of his brief presence among us, he established his status as a beloved friend. He went back to Iran on December 4th to mark the first anniversary of his late father's death, when his horrible tragedy happened on his return on January 8th. Who could have thought this is going to be his last farewell to his mother? Who could have believed this beautiful family is going to lose a father and son in a year? Pedram will be in our hearts and minds forever. Our deep condolences to his mother, sister, and entire family, and all his friends. May his soul rest in peace. Last night, I was thinking about Pedram and suddenly cut out some word to my mind. And I tried to organize the words. It is in Persian language. I'm so sorry. خوابیده در آغوش تن ابر چه آرام رعنا قد و قامت گل خوشنام پدرام قد بلند بود خوابیده در آغوش تن ابر چه آرام رعنا قد و قامت گل خوشنام پدرام پروانه شد و ترک زمین کرد سحر انگام تا داغ نهد بر دل ایام پدرام تنگ از زمین را چو تویی بلبل و گلفام معوا شدت افلاک به فرجام پدرام سودای فراغت کشدم هر دم و مادام دردا چه کنم چاره به آلام پدرام هرچند زمین را نشدت فرصتی از کام هرچند زمین را نشدت فرصتی از کام آرام به خوابی به فلک ماه شب آرام پدرام. Thank you so much.
I'd like to invite Miriam Shafai to remember Samira.
It took all of my courage to come here and give this speech, but I know I owe it to you guys. Samira and Hamid Reza were not only the kindest, the biggest support for everyone they knew, but they were the glue of the groups, wherever they were. Last year, all of us, all of our groups, we all were newcomers here in Canada, leaving our home country, leaving our beloved, whatever we had, and all we had was just our 2 luggages. But Samira and Hamid Reza, they added happiness, motivation, joy, and faith to our pack now. They are both gone now, and I'm too scared of life without them. It's undeniable that perfection doesn't last, and they were the best example of perfection, the lovely couple. You know, Samira, these words are for you, my sweetheart. If we had lived in a fair world, it would have not been me giving this speech. It would have been you giving maid of honor speech in the wedding ceremony. We made a deal. How could you do that to me? I'm really mad at you, and next time we meet, you'd better make it up for me. But Samira, Hamid Reza, if you are listening to me as you always did, just want you to know, you two will always stay in our heart. You are unforgettable in every way. برای هموطن‌های عزیزم، 1 ساعت قبل از پرواز من با سمیرا صحبت کردم. برام از سوغاتی‌هایی که خریده بود حرف زد. از برنامه‌هایی که وقتی برگشت دونه دونه باید با هم انجام بدیم. تهدیدم کرد که توی خونه نمونم، برم بیرون غذا بخورم، مراقب خودم باشم. هنوز نمیدونم چطور یک نفر میتونه توی شهر غریب جای خانوادت، مادرت، دوستت و همه کست رو برات پر کنه. ما نمیدونیم از کجا اومدیم و کسی هم تا حالا برنگشته که بهمون بگه دنیای بعدی چجوریه. فقط یک چیز رو میدونم که توی همین مهلت کوتاهی که اینجا برامون تعیین شده مراقب دل بقیه باشین که نشکنیم. سعی کنین مهربونی کنین به هم. دوستای عزیزم، ما از اقیانوس گذشتیم، عزیزامون رو به خدا سپردیم و اومدیم اینجا. کنار هم بمونین، بذارین این بذر جوونه بزنه، بذارین سرزمین سبز زندگی رو فتح کنیم. کنار هم بایستین، ما فقط همو داریم.
I'd like to invite Kihan Borishan to come forward and remember Hamid.
On behalf of some of Hamid Reza's close friends, I would like to appreciate everyone for being here, for thoughts, praise, kindness we have received. Dear Hamid Reza, there are no words to express our sorrow for your loss. There is a great emptiness left by your passing, but I'm certain that your soul is in peace now. I especially remember your gentle spirit and loving nature. You will always be remembered as an especially giving person with full of energy and motivation. Our heart is always with you. نامه‌ای به حمید رضای عزیز. دوست عزیز و مهربانم سلام. امیدواریم مثل همیشه شاد و خندان باشی. باور کن هیچ وقت خنده های مهربانت را که گرم و بخش دلتنگی های ما بود فراموش نمی کنیم. بودنت در کنار ما خیلی با ارزش بود. البته شاید آن زمان خیلی متوجه نبودیم. ولی وقتی خاطراتت رو در ذهنمان مرور میکنیم تماما خاطرات مثبت و انگیزه والای توست که در ما نمود پیدا میکند. ستاره کوکب، امیدوارم در آسمان نیز مثل ستاره همیشه بدرخشی. یادت برای ما همیشه زنده خواهد ماند.
Recognizing that we are a very diverse, multi-faith community, and for some prayer is comforting, while for others reflection brings strength. I ask that we now, in solidarity, as a community, observe a moment of silence to remember our friends and family members, Sarah, Mohammed, Pedram, Hamid, and Samira. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's memorial service. The University of Windsor continues to grieve at the heartbreaking loss of these extraordinary individuals. To help, we are continuing to provide counseling support and services for individuals and groups through both student health counseling and wellness services and our Human Resources Division. Please reach out. You have friends as part of our community. Thank you, everyone.